1872 is when they discovered opiate receptors. The very first one, when they discovered the natural opioids. And what happens is, the very first one they discovered is beta-endorphin. Okay? Now, beta-endorphin is encoded on something called the pro-opiomelanocortin gene, or everybody knows it as the POMC gene. And basically, okay, not only do you have beta-endorphin coded for on the POMC gene, you also have ACTH coded for on that same gene. Why does that make sense? Why does that make sense?
Regulation.
Yeah, stress. Stress. Okay? What happens is you have ACTH right there, and you have the beta-endorphin gene. Pain is a stress. Pain is a stress. So they're both released. Okay, now, go a couple pages later. Within the structure of beta-endorphin, where is it at? In the structure of beta-endorphin, you have the sequence of metenkephalin. See these things? They're italicized here. I don't know if you can see it real good, but tire, glide, phe, met is metenkephalin. It is actually found within the larger structure, beta-endorphin. However, this is important, we do not splice metenkephalin out of beta-endorphin. Beta-endorphin is active by itself. There's only one source of metenkephalin. There's only one source of metenkephalin. So beta-endorphin is the larger structure. People forget this on the exam. It's the larger structure. Within the structure of beta-endorphin, you have the structure of metenkephalin, but we do not splice metenkephalin out of beta-endorphin. In other words, beta-endorphin is not the source of metenkephalin. Instead, metenkephalin, two enkephalins come out. Major enkephalins. Leuenkephalin and metenkephalin. They're coded for on another gene called the pro-enkephalin gene. By the way, the enkephalin name came from in the head, cepha and enkephalon. Okay? Came from cepha, in the head, is where it came from. And remember, endorphins were endogenous morphine. That's where that word came from. So there's two types of enkephalins, metenkephalin and leuenkephalin. The third major category of endogenous opioid is pro-dynorphin gene, the pro-dynorphin gene. Now, there are two dynorphins, dynorphin A and dynorphin B. Don't worry about that, but I want to show you the structure of dynorphin. Right here. You see the first 5 amino acids? Look above. What do you see? There's the first 5 amino acids of dynorphin A, actually it is. What do you see? You see the structure of leuenkephalin. Leuenkephalin is in the structure of the dynorphin. And this is interesting because you can split dynorphin itself. Dynorphin by itself is an opioid analgesic. It has activity. However, you can also cleave leuenkephalin out of dynorphin. So you really have two sources of leuenkephalin. You have the pro-enkephalin gene And also you can splice it out of dinorphin, because it's the first five amino acids of dinorphin are identical to those of leucoencapsulin. I'm going to go over it again. All this stuff. Beta-endorphin, okay, coded for on the POMC gene. Metencapsulin, only one source, and that's the proencapsulin gene. Okay, leucoencapsulin, two sources. One is the proencapsulin gene. Two is it can be spliced out of dinorphin. Dinorphin by itself is also an endogenous opioid with activity. Okay. Just note that leu and metencapsulin are very small peptides, 5 amino acids. Okay, now, we said before that not only do you have different endogenous opioids, you also have different types of opioid receptors, and the three major types of opioid receptors are mu, kappa, and delta. Okay? Now, the mu receptor, okay, the mu receptor, the endogenous ligands are the enkephalins and beta endorphins. And the order of potency is beta endorphins are greater than the enkephalins as far as potency and affinity go. And then they have some of the drugs that bind to mu receptors. Don't worry about that. We'll be going into that in much detail. Then you have the kappa opioid receptors. The kappa opioid receptors, the endogenous ligands for them are the dinorphins. Okay? So the kappa opioid receptors, the dinorphins, are the endogenous ligand for them. And then the delta, once again, it's enkephalins, and I think it's enkephalins greater than endorphins as far as potency. So you have three different analgesic types of opioid receptors. This picture is not going to help you much, but what they're showing is here is morphine structure of morphine. And I know you can't see that, but that group is OH right there. And what you have, if you slide this thing over, see this group here? Slide it over to there. And right here you have tyrosine. Tyrosine has an OH group. And they're sort of superimposable. So this morphine is a phenyl ring with a hydroxy group. So does tyrosine. It's a phenyl ring with a hydroxy group. And that's why we believe they combine to the receptor. Morphine combine to these receptors. Okay. Moving right along. You know, opiates don't just have actions on opiates don't just have analgesic actions, they have other actions. Depending on where the receptors are, is where you can get the effect. For example, the analgesic effect, look where the areas are. Dorsal horn of the spinal cord. What's in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord? The substantia gelatinosa. Okay? Periaqueductal gray matter, we already talked about that in the analgesic pathway. Raphe magnus in the analgesic pathway. Thalamus, what's thalamus responsible for? A lot of different things, but ouch. Ouch. Okay? Respiratory depression, antitussive. What does antitussive mean? Anti-cough. Okay? Emesis, guess what? You have a mu receptor in the CTZ. Okay? Emesis and meiosis all are in what they call the ventral brainstem. What does ventral mean? I think I told you this once before. There's dorsal and ventral. They're exact opposites. Dorsal is up, ventral is down. Okay? Dorsal fin of the shark. It's on its back. It's on top. Okay? Ventral is down. Okay? Neuroendocrine secretion or inhibition. You have opiate receptors in the hypothalamus and in the anterior pituitary. Mood and behavior, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the locus coeruleus, the VTA. Let's see. What does the VTA release? Dopamine. What are the two sources of dopamine? Substantia nigra and the VTA. Locus coeruleus, norepinephrine, raphe, serotonin. These are how these opiate receptors are going to have other effects. Okay. So then they talk about, by the way, you guys know the difference between an opiate and an opioid? Opiate comes from a natural source, like the poppy. Morphine, we get from the poppy is an opiate. Okay. They haven't used that terminology very much anymore, but opiate is the natural product. Opioid are the things we make. Okay. Let me just tell you some basics. This is morphine. Okay? This is morphine. And morphine has this 3-hydroxy group. See this 3-hydroxy group? At least for morphine, that hydroxy group is absolutely essential for activity. Absolutely essential for activity. Does anybody know what codeine is? It's methylmorphine. You take away that hydrogen here and replace it with a methyl group, and that's codeine. Codeine is methylmorphine. Is codeine active by itself? What do you think? No, it's a prodrug of morphine. Anybody remember from last year what cytochrome P450? What cytochrome P450 metabolizes morphine, codeine to morphine?
3A4.
No.
2C9.
2D6.
Never would have guessed that.
Right at the tip of your tongue, right?
Almost.
2D6.
2C9.
Now, this hydroxy group does not seem to be as essential. However, let's talk about heroin. What you do is you take these 2 hydroxy groups and you convert them to acetyl esters. Remove the hydrogen here and here. And that's heroin. Now, heroin's also a prodrug. In fact, it's a prodrug of 2 substances. Which acetyl group do we have to cut? Which one do you think? There's 2 there for activity. Which one do we have to cut off? Absolutely, you have to cut off. This one here. Remember, that hydroxy group is essential for morphine, codeine, and heroin. However, this one here, if it's the monoacetylated one, it's active. But if we cut both off, what do we have? Active morphine. We're active again. So heroin is a prodrug. It has 2 active metabolites. Monoacetyl morphine. If you cut both of them off, you have morphine itself. And that's heroin. Now, one last thing before we go. It seems to be that the pharmacophore, absolute pharmacophore required for activity of opiate receptors, means when you break it all down, what's absolutely required? This N group, this nitrogen must be alkylated. This is a phenyl ring. What is that ring? We had it last term. What is that ring? Chair, in the chair there. 6-membered ring with nitrogen in it. Piperidine ring. Piperidine ring. This seems to be the basic pharmacophore required for agonist activity in opioid receptors. Phenylpiperidine. Now let's go back to morphine real quick. Where is the phenylpiperidine ring? It's here. Here's the phenyl ring. And then we go over here. It goes up, over, up, up, up. There's your piperidine ring. Phenylpiperidine. And there's a relationship between the phenyl ring and the piperidine ring. They have to be perpendicular. So the phenyl ring and the what's it called ring, the piperidine ring, they're perpendicular to one another. All right, thank you very much. Tomorrow we're going to start the drugs. Try to remember to download the review, the exam review.
I did.
Using it
I did that already. Oh, that's for you.
After about 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
He goes to our class.